So yeah, I found this thing. Actually, I saw a YouTube video that was talking about this. I don't remember which one I saw. There are several YouTube videos with these. And when I saw you can get them on eBay for like $5, I'm thinking, you know, for a price like that, you can't afford to not buy it. So I bought it not knowing what I was going to do with it. And again, I think it advertises as 3 to 6 volts in. But everybody I've seen online just uses a 9-volt battery, and I've used it with 9 volts. 9 volts works fine. I don't know if you'll eventually damage it inside with 9. I don't know, but it's not going to be running continuously. And then the output is advertised as 400,000 volts out. Reading comments on other videos, a lot of people say that it's only 300,000 volts out instead of 400,000 volts out. But anyways, there's no name on this. There's no part number. But if you want to get one on eBay, here's what you would look for on eBay. Yeah, I just realized I said 400,000 volts. Yeah, I'm an idiot. For those of you paying attention, I'm sure you picked up on that. Yeah, not 400,000 volts, 40,000 volts. Don't ask me what I was thinking. So they say 40,000, but according to some people I've heard or read or whatever, more like 30,000. But again, still enough to really hurt. So anyways, so just to kind of demonstrate this. Now, again, when I bought this, I had no idea what I was going to use it for. I just wanted to play with it. And I'm tempted to buy a few more. And then I was looking at some other stuff, and I saw Anakin's Podracer, and it just clicked. It just made perfect sense to put this in the model of the Podracer. So yeah, I don't know if anybody else has ever done that or not. I mean, I've had several good ideas, and then come to find out somebody else had already done it or had the idea. So when I had the idea to put this in a Podracer, I didn't even want to know if somebody else already thought of it. I just, because I knew if I checked and somebody else did it, then I wouldn't do it. You know, so I'm just assuming I'm the first one to think of this. My apologies if you've already done one and put a video out. Again, I just didn't even check. Now, if you do get one of these and you're going to play around with it, again, I'll just show you what happens here. I'll use just a 9-volt battery here. So I'm just going to hold the red wire on positive, and when we touch the negative, we got nothing. Wonder if that battery's dead. I bet that battery's dead. So let me see if I can find a new battery. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Fresh battery, new battery, this one works. So again, I'm just holding the red wire on the positive. You take the green wire, put it on the negative, and yeah, it's pretty loud, pretty cool. It's going to be a little bit loud in the model, and I'm hoping it does not melt the plastic. But, and I also don't know exactly how far away those can be and still make an arc. Hopefully further than that, because it's going to look kind of silly if the two engine pods are like ½ an inch away from each other. So I still need to do some experiments on to see how far away. So that's about, let's get them about 1 inch away here. That's roughly 1 inch. We'll see if it still works here. Nothing. Now, what I learned the hard way is that if you put power to it and it doesn't arc, when you take the power wire off, there's still a charge being stored in here, so don't touch it. It'll shock you. Not with full whatever, but it'll still get you. Let's try that. Still nothing. So this may not work very well. There we go. It's kind of loud. So what I'll have to do is get them about that close. It might look a little bit weird being that close to each other, but I don't know. Still works there. Let's try that. All right, that's kind of cool. The further away you get, the lower the frequency is. That's kind of cool. So that's probably the limit on how far apart I can run it. So I'm just going to measure that gap here, and that's where I'm going to set up the model. So anyways, let's see what it looks like all done. So here's the kit, and again, I got this used on eBay for not too much money. And, you know, I didn't really record the build process, so I just took some photos. Here you can see a few parts of the kit. Just slowly starting to paint some of the cockpit pieces. I did kind of detail the cockpit a little bit. Didn't get too carried away. The seat belts are left over from another airplane model that I just finished. I'm still working on. Just airbrushed the engines and got some panel line wash on it. Just basic painting, and again, it's just showing with and without panel line wash. And it's the Tamiya accent. You're not really supposed to use that over enamel because it will, it'll eat away at the enamel, which enamel is what I use. That red is enamel. But as long as you're careful with it and don't mess with it much or wipe it off much, and it will work fine. The wire I used is high temperature wire that's typically used for oven making, and that's what's going to take the high energy spark through for the energy binder parts. Again, just more pieces of putting it together. And it was actually a fairly detailed kit. Lots of little pieces, lots of little pipes that you paint separate and glue on. And the side of the cockpit, fuselage, whatever you want to call that. Again, there's just a lot of good detail in there. I mean, this would make a good kit for somebody who wanted to make a nice static display model. But again, I just kind of wanted to get this together. I wanted to see the spark work, so it's definitely not my best work, so don't look too closely. Decals were kind of a pain to put on. They might have just been a little bit old, but they didn't want to really lay too flat, a little bit too shiny. I was tempted to put a clear coat over it, but I don't know, probably won't mess with it. Circuit's real easy, just a 9-volt battery, a clip, push button, and then the sparker unit. Now they claim they only run on, or they're rated for 3 to 6 volts. Everybody I've seen on YouTube uses 9 volts. I use a 9-volt battery. Seems to work okay. I guess if it fails prematurely, then maybe 9 volts isn't not good for it. I don't know. I guess we'll find out as time goes. But there it is, all finished up. I had a different idea for the base, but it didn't quite turn out very well. So that base you see is actually plan B, so I just kind of threw it together quickly. Yeah, the other base kind of looked like junk. So I just wanted to talk about the kit a little bit more. The kit itself, I was actually kind of surprised with how detailed it was. I mean, I got it on eBay used. The guy I bought it from started it already, and he didn't put too much together, but it was a little bit of a glue bomb, so I had to kind of sand off some of that. But that's what's supposed to go in there. And so these engines are supposed to be like that far apart. But that's about as far as that arc will jump on that Taser unit. But which actually I just ordered 2 more of them on eBay because I got some experiments I want to do with those. So they're coming in from China, free shipping, so it'll probably be several more weeks before I get them. But I'm going to do another video with a bunch of experiments using those. But just talking about the kit, the only reason I bought the kit was to put that Taser thing in because I thought it would look cool. And it actually looks cooler in real life than it does on a video. The video is just kind of blurry, but it actually looks, real life, it actually has, I don't know, it just looks cool. But plus it's loud. So anyways, the kit. I was really impressed with how much detail was actually in the kit. I didn't really spend a whole lot of time doing it. I just kind of did a quick paint job, did a little bit of just quick, detailing with the panel line wash. Again, those photos that you just saw showed, some of these parts with and without the panel line wash. Put the decals on. The decals weren't that great. Might have just been because they were old. This kit is rather old, and the decals, they were kind of yellowed a little bit. They didn't want to contour around compound curves very well. I did use the decal setting solution, but it still got a few wrinkles around here. If I was actually going to do this to make a nice display model, I would just mask that off and airbrush the blue. I wouldn't even use the decals. But still, they're not terrible. They came out okay. If you are going to build this kit just as a nice display, which it would be, there's a lot of room in here to do some really nice detailing, painting, get some different metal colors in here, do some different highlights. It would really look nice. But probably the hardest part about this kit is the windscreen, the windshield here, because that's just a flat sheet of thin plastic. It's not like a It's not like an injected formed piece. It's just a flat sheet, so you have to curve it while you glue it in. And the best way I found to do that was I took some, this is styrene coated brass rod, and I bent it to the right shape and glued it to my tweezers here. These are spring-loaded closed tweezers. And I pinched that windscreen in between here. That held the curve, so then I can just kind of hold it in place while I set the glue. And I used, and I've used this before in other videos, but I used the UV Settable Glue here. So I just put a little bead around where the windshield would sit. Then I used this to hold it in place, and then I put the light on it to let it set up. And again, if you're not familiar with it, the UV glue comes a little light at the end, and when you shine that light on it, then it sets up the glue, or resin, whatever you want to call it. And once it's set, I could just kind of pull that off and it was done. Now it does come with an Anakin figure to set in here. I didn't really like the Anakin figure. My idea was to just kind of have it setting like it was ready for the race, you know, ready to go. And the base wasn't quite thick enough to hold the battery and the circuit and all that, so I had to extend it a bit. You can see where that sets in here. We've got the module here and the battery connection, and kind of tucks up there okay. But again, you know, I appreciate you hanging in here and watching it and checking it out, and hopefully you liked it and got some ideas from it. And as always, thanks for watching.